A single bead of light hangs in the black, and somewhere behind that glow Ash is already deciding who lives. Days have blurred since Crossroad fell, and the question lands like a stone Ash already counted in his sleep. Ash's calm is the scariest weapon on the field, because he isn't grieving the dead, he's measuring them. One name slips through the smoke and bends the whole chapter sideways. The magic blacksmith Calibay still breathes. 50 years ago, the elder dwarf vanished into a dungeon chasing rare metals, and the world quietly buried him alive. But the system still lists him as alive, so Ash will drag him back into daylight whether the dwarf likes it or not. Two adventurers in a stranger's basement, voices low, weapons close. The cleanup column still hasn't finished outside. Lucas talks bunkering and rebuilds, but Ash isn't really listening. His mind is already 3 rooms ahead of them. Then the old man surfaces, scowling under a wild white beard. Centuries of stubborn rolled into one short body. Ash slides into the role like silk. Polite, curious, harmless. The prince knows exactly which mask to wear tonight. The dwarf grumbles. He reveals his name only to comrades, then pretends he hasn't already decided to talk freely. He grins through gray whiskers, declaring himself the world's best weapon maker, and he isn't even lying about it. The game's SSR equipment, the magic weapons collector's farm for years, they all leave this dwarf's anvil first. Ash spills compliments like coins on the table, every word a lever, every smile a soft request not yet spoken. Calibay eats every word, hums and nods. The flattery is working faster than Ash dared to hope it would. Then Ash smiles, that quiet, sharp smile, and the whole room shifts. The old prince is back in the room again. He says it plainly. Star Silver. Calibay's eyes go wide as the smile slides off his face like cheap paint. The hammer slams down hard. No more songs, no more flattery. The price of this conversation just turned terrible. The dwarf paces, hands behind his back, calling Ash naive without saying the word. The forge isn't a vending machine. Calibay roars that Star Silver is the highest level exorcism material in this world. Saying its name is half a sin. Even one cast piece eats weeks of his life, and the dwarf still doesn't know what target is worth that bleed. Ash exhales the name like a curse. Celandone, the Vampire King. The one-player guides told children to fear at night. Silver bites the low ranks. Garlic and crosses and prayer chains, but the High Lords laugh at all of it. Only Star Silver carves the noble ones. One blade and a vampire lord folds like cheap cloth. That's the math. Ash explains the timeline is broken. The boss arrived in Chapter 8, decades too soon, with no countermeasure ready. Then the dwarf's eyes drift far away. The dungeon, the descent, the brothers, a memory he never let breathe. Ultimately, he was the only one who escaped. The sentence sits there, heavier than the anvil it left behind today. His pipe cradles smoke that hasn't been lit in decades. Every breath in this room costs the dwarf something private. Ash listens silently, the prince's red cape bright as a wound against Calibay's white grief in the doorway. Calibay finally produces the lump of Star Silver he dragged out of that dungeon, the only piece he ever recovered. Forging it means turning his brother's deaths into a weapon. He asks the prince if that price is one he can pay. Ash promises blood, skin, anything the dwarf names. He calls it a good requiem and means every syllable of it. Calibay leans in, half impressed, half amused. The kid said yes faster than any king he ever met in centuries. Then the dwarf demands the name, the full one, the royal one. No bargain seals until that title hits the air. Fine, royal child, the dwarf grunts. The deal is struck across a leather glove and an iron palm tonight. 3-star silver guns, the dwarf declares. The best he's ever cast. Ash didn't even haggle on the count. Calibay starts the prep work for the heavier weapons immediately, ink scratching across yellowed parchment paper. The system pings, quest accepted. The world is keeping score of every deal the prince closes tonight. Calibay warns that old folks die while princes are off being kings, a grim joke that lands too softly in the room. The dwarf brings up the masked thugs the soldiers killed earlier tonight. He doesn't think they actually died at all. They dissolved into fog instead of bleeding out. Bodies that refuse to be dead are a problem with a name. Calibay has watched this happen for years, citizens dissolving instead of dying. The Lake Kingdom slowly hollowed. The dwarf asks how Ash thinks they vanished into mist instead of bleeding. Ash hasn't said the word out loud yet. Ash echoes it as a question. A curse. The single word lands and the room goes that specific kind of quiet. Cathedral spires loom over the kingdom like teeth. The survivors who walk these streets are suffering, not living. Calibay's last warning rides Ash back into the dawnlight, the Crossroad Lord's manor waiting on the hill above. Inside the manor, 3 party leaders gather. The night ate them. Everyone needs sleep nobody is going to take. Calibay had named the new threat. Living armor, 3 of them in pixel render pulsing with hostile blue light. Their count? Endless. The infinity symbol next to the silhouette tells Ash exactly how bad the next wave gets. Ash sits at the head of the manor table, calm as bone, calculating the impossible numbers Calibay just handed him. The city sprawls under a bruised sky, 10,000 homes, and Ash already knows 90% are completely empty. 200 NPCs walk these streets in daylight. Half are adventurers, the other half are dying citizens of the kingdom. Roughly 50 real survivors. That number stops Ash mid-thought. A whole kingdom collapsed down to 1 dinner party. The numbers don't add up. Ash asks the obvious question, where are the rest of the citizens supposed to be hiding? A pale silver-haired woman across the dinner table smiles softly. Eternal life, she says, sounds like a fairy tale. A blonde man in black tears into rare meat beside her, asking lazily if anyone could even survive forever. Then a third guest leans forward, hair gold under a wide black witch's hat, gloved fingers brushing her chin. Ash answers the question carefully. Is anyone going to live forever? Their children leave home and never return? He hints at more. The kingdom may need more bodies than it has. The dinner guests stop chewing entirely. Ash sends his commanders to bed. The fighters file out of the hall, drained from the all-night battle behind them. Then he calls out across the empty hall, loud, sharp, certain. The prince has another guest waiting on his summons. The blonde witch turns slowly, gold hair spilling out beneath the brim. Ash meets her gaze without blinking. And then her hat erupts upward, struck by a column of pure white light. The whole hall ignites in a single instant. Voices cry out across the bright shock, blonde and dark figures recoiling, mouths shaping the same word. What? Ash catches the blonde magician mid-collapse, and the whole room hears her breath stutter before her body remembers how to stand. Her eyes shut, sweat tracks down her temple, and she breathes a what's going on like she's the last one to know. Inside her head, a quieter voice keeps whispering, asking what they should name their daughter, an old wound she carries everywhere. Lily watches her senior crumple into Ash's coat, brain already running the math nobody else has bothered to do tonight. Then the spell breaks. The magician sits up smiling, hand raised in apology, pretending the feint was just a stumble. She bows the guests out with a polished line about resting well, the bow of a woman who has rehearsed this lie. Ash waits until the door clicks shut, then murmurs the only honest sentence left in the room. She's sick. Lucas hardens beside him. Lily speaks up first because she has been the second magician in that room. The magic energy was boiling up inside her senior. Behind the words, a witch silhouette flickers, green stormlight pouring off a body that already burns from the inside. Her skills were perfect, Lily admits, voice small. Power that good is the easiest power to ride straight into the ground. Damien leans in, priest robes catching the lamp, and asks the kind question. But your senior looked really sick out there. Lily drops the truth nobody wanted. She saw her senior filling a pipe with herbs every single time she cast a spell. Pain-killing herbs on every cast. That is not a magician's habit. That is the silent contract of someone burning down her own body. Lucas tries to laugh it off, hand at his mouth, but the sweat on his brow says he is doing the same math. Lily corners the senior magician later, looking up with a soft seriousness that hurts. "You keep hiding things from us," she says. Lucas, blonde hair bright in the lamp, tosses an offer of his arms with a strut. The senior brushes him off without breaking stride. Then the day ends. Gray rooftops, the manor, a quiet line that says the next day, in the office. The temperature drops. Ash is face down on the desk, gold epaulets catching the lamp, the posture of a prince running on caffeine and bad news. Then the hallway warps with shouting voices. Your Highness, footsteps thundering. Whatever is coming through that door is not good news. Ash pushes himself up, dark hair falling over his eyes. The messenger from the capital has returned, and the answer is already on his face. Flashback. The instant Ash realized Crossroad was bleeding, his hand was already cramping out an appeal in long, desperate paragraphs. A voice in the dark hisses. At this point, listen to me. Even begging in his own hand, the Empire just hears noise. Then the worst news lands. The Bringer Principality has fallen, and the enemy is occupying the rest, one province at a time. Ash bares his teeth at the empty room. Do they really not know what they are choosing by leaving Crossroad alone? His fingers tighten around his own signature on the page. Fernandez Emberkeeper Everblack. The youngest prince decides what that name is worth tonight. And then his appeal hits the floor in pieces. Torn paper drifts across the boards like ash, every word he wrote discarded. Lucas walks in and finds his prince hunched at the desk like a man who has just signed something he can never take back. And then the architect is just there. Spiral glasses, polite suit, director Mr. A grinning like an old friend at a funeral. Ash hisses back, eyes wild. What, you director bastard? If I die, you die with me. The room tilts under the threat. The map flickers open. Crossroads Safe Point base camp glows, a bonfire crackling between hut walls. This city is the floor Ash must hold. Then Lucas is in armor, blonde and bright, ready to walk wherever Ash points. Cape back on, prince mask back on, war face ready. They walk the city, Lily a step behind. The priest fires green light at something in an alley. Crossroad will not stay quiet. Ash thinks ahead, to the masked phantoms in the next zone. The Spectre Knights Legion, numerous and powerful, waiting in the smoke. Then a faded blue sign in the corner of his vision whispers, Grandma cutting cocoa is back. Crossroad just gained another piece. And there she is. The old witch in wisp blue, cloak heavy, cane planted, HM drifting from her hood like she owns the street. Lily mutters that Grandma looks bigger than she did in the game. Ash files that one detail away because details like that have teeth. Coco's face splits into a grin. Nice to meet you, fetuses, she crows, scooping Lily and Lucas under each arm like prize potatoes. She squints at a jar of green jellies and clicks her tongue. Tsk. This won't do, she mutters, the kindly grandmother routine humming. Coco raises one finger and green light pools at the tip. The warmth in her eyes does not match the shine of her teeth. Lily sniffs the jelly. Coco purrs, enjoy your treat, dear, the kind of grandmother hint that is also a warning sliding past your ribs. Coco's grin sharpens. Eat more, there's a lot left. Another enemy may appear soon. Polite phrasing from a woman who has watched cities die. Ash's system card flares behind his eyes. Grandma cutting Coco, a spatial mage who slices through space, an NPC dedicated to teleportation. Coco eyes Lucas in his armor and snorts. Clown and his goons? Only she would dare say that to the prince. Ash steps closer with something heavy in hand. The witch's eyes narrow. The grandmother act cools. She has not seen what he is carrying. Ash hands her the stone and explains, it sounds scary, but really it just means a barrier the enemy cannot teleport through. Coco flicks it. Blue runes flare along her palm. This should be enough for installation, right? She asks, already half done before anyone agrees. Then the lane shifts again. A wooden sign hangs above the next door. Crossroad Forge, level 5. Ash has another asset to wake. Inside waits Calibay, the old dwarf, snow-white beard puffing wider than his face. He grins like a child who has just been visited. The dwarf leans in close, eyes shining. Let's see, he murmurs. You can feel the room temperature shift as the master tradesman wakes up. Ash explains the deal. Star silver, for the new smithy, the new contract. Calibay's grin widens because the prince came holding gifts. The system snaps the contract into place. Limited equipment crafting quest. Reward, 3-star silver weapons, a war chest cracking open. Calibay sketches in extra fine print. Highest level, or special mana cores, the dwarf adds, pen pointing like a hungry man. Ash agrees. This is not something they can do leisurely. The enemy is moving, and Crossroad does not get to negotiate timelines anymore. They cross back to the witch. Miss Coco, the children chime, polite as choir boys, while the manor knights stay one careful step back. Ash holds out a golden key. The golden room key, trophy from killing the gold gargoyle, an asset most parties would hoard. Coco's mouth opens in pure delight. Oh, she breathes. The key begins to sing in her palm, gold light spilling between her fingers. Coco lifts the key and the locked door ignites. Just a moment, child. She sing-songs, the keyhole flaring gold. Light pours from the door in a single golden bar, the kind of flare that wakes every sleeping rat behind them. Ash steps forward, cape catching the gold. The system whispers it plain. Every room opened with this key is a one-time event dungeon. Lucas pivots, blonde hair catching the lamp, blue eyes serious. Wouldn't it be better if the rest of us wielded weapons too, Your Highness? Ash's boot scuffs the stone. Even if you bring one, he warns, you'll regret adding it on to the heavyweight you're already lugging. Ash glances back, half smiling, gold epaulets bright. You'll know when we get there. It'll be heavier if you carry a weapon. Loading screen blinks gold, and Ash drops into the golden room with the cheat code grin of a man who already read the patch notes. He spells it out like a streamer at the mic. Event dungeon, golden room, rules are simple, no monsters here. Just one little catch, the golden things bolt the second you blink at them. The clock ticks, 1 minute. That is all the system gives him to clean the floor. Ash flicks a blade and the first runner vanishes, payout already counted in his head. He moves through golden ankles and shins like a tax collector with a sword. A hooded purple cloak whips through the air, Lily slicing straight into the golden swarm beside him. Just like the game, the streamer brain whispers, every input mapped, every cooldown remembered. The party fans out, Lucas, Lily, Ken, Demian, working a routine that used to be a live stream. Sparks chase Loot. Loot chases the timer chases nobody. It owns everyone in this room. Ash watches the chaos with the calm of a man counting coins instead of bodies. 1 full minute of perfect farming and the prince already knows the dungeon owes him more. Boots cross a floor that crunches with coins, every step worth a soldier's monthly wage. The map blinks and a hidden tag pops. Standard special mana zone. The secret payout Ash was hunting. He knew there would be at least one. He played this event back when it was just pixels. The golden room never gives away free money. It sells tickets to people patient enough to read. Ash smiles the smile of a man cashing a stub he wrote for himself. Crossroad just got one more weapon in its locker and nobody outside this room even knows. The portal spits them back into normal light, and the coins land on a desk like a small avalanche. Ash divides the spoils with a clerk's patience. Party shares first, then the rank and file outside. The face he keeps is calm, almost bored, the same face he wore through every wave on the wall. Of course, he says. Of course every soldier gets a piece, because morale is a weapon and weapons need polish. He turns back to the manor with a list forming. Who to pay, who to brief, who to brace. The golden room was the easy half. The hard half is what is waiting at home. Back at the Lord's Manor, Ash works the ledgers like a quartermaster who never sleeps. Bonuses for the main party, salary bumps for the soldiers, every silver tied to a name and a wound. Pay them weekly, he decides. Pay them like the war is already chewing at the gate. He climbs the manor steps and a wide-eyed maid bobs into view, half curtsy, half nerves. Yeah, she stammers, eyes flicking sideways at a question Ash has not asked yet. Something inside this house is off. The maid feels it. The prince already smells it. The maid finally breaks. She has been stuck in her room for days. Nobody seen, nobody fed. Ash does not need a name to know which Crossroad only has one legend hiding behind a locked door. He walks the corridor slow, every step measured, every step listening. A muffled gasp leaks through the wood. Ha, ugh. A sound a soldier learns to hate. He stops outside the door and the prince becomes a doctor by instinct alone. Whatever is on the other side, it is bleeding, and the manor has been pretending it is not. Ash pushes the door and the room exhales sickness into the hallway. Jupiter is on the floor, blonde hair tangled, dress crumpled, asking why he is here at all. Her voice should be a thunderclap. Today it is a whisper she can barely lift. She tries to stand and the body answers in a language nobody wants to translate. The cough comes wet, a red splash across her glove, an entire history in one bright stain. How much blood? The prince hears himself think. How much has she been hiding for how long? Jupiter wipes her chin and tries the smile she uses on everyone else. Do not cough up blood as a joke, the room answers, but she keeps trying anyway. Ash sits her down at the table and pretends this is dinner, not triage. A deadly disease, somebody says, 2 words that fall harder than any monster on the wall. The lightning sorceress, ghost of the empire, eaten from the inside by something a sword cannot cut. The prince keeps his face flat, his hands steady, already writing a new plan in silence. She laughs again, that bone-dry laugh from people who already weighed their odds. Do not worry about my mana, she insists. Save your worry for the wall and the wave. A fist crackles blue with lightning. The old magic still answers when she calls. The body is failing, the gift is not, and the gift is the only thing she has left. Ash sees it and the prince hates the math. You cannot pay disease and soldiers bonuses. A sorceress dying is still a sorceress, and Crossroad is still one wave from going under. Night drops on Crossroad and Ash walks out under a sky the color of old bruises. The mercenary guild looms ahead, half-timbered, lantern-lit, a building that swallows secrets for a fee. Inside, every face turns. Every face has a price. Every price has a story behind it. Ash takes a stool at the counter beside the silver-haired Coco. Hood up, smile crooked. I had some good luck today, he says, the lie of a man with too many problems to list. Coco answers with a hee-hee that says she has been waiting all evening for him to sit here. Could you listen to this granny's complaints? She asks. And Ash already knows the bait. Complaints? The prince echoes, the way a soldier repeats coordinates back to a captain. Coco tips a bottle and the drink pours slow, the way memory does when buried 15 years. You may have guessed, she murmurs. But this is a story about my granddaughter. A young blonde man smiles in the dark, the moment he first met that child, 15 years ago, Everblack's northern front. A hammer cracks down on a sword on the anvil. Sparks fly into the dark. This is how Lightning Jupiter started. Young Jupiter stands in front of a wall of fire she conjured, eyes closed, smiling. This is what I learned magic for. In a dark forest, she lifts her staff. Green spiral light unspools. Reyna sits behind her, sick of every word. Cigarette boxes spill across a table. Reyna has counted every stick. She smokes sparingly and will not share a single one. Reyna slings an arm around Jupiter's shoulder, grinning. Jupiter, she sings, half affectionate. War friends still acting like teenagers. A young soldier in a blue cap stares slack-jawed, sweat running off his temple. His voice cracks before words come out. The two women look like gangsters smoking cigarettes, but every soldier passing stares at them with something close to worship. Two profiles side by side in the snowlight. Jupiter relaxed and dreamy, Reyna straight-spined under a peaked officer's cap. Three purple banners with the gold sun crest snap in the wind, 20 years of Magic Corps conquest stitched into them. In the salute line, Jupiter notices the other commanders have scars on their faces. Their cheeks are sunburnt, hers are smooth. "We're pale from never seeing the sun," a soldier says quietly. "That's just the role of mages in this war now." Jupiter raises a gloved hand and shrugs. "Our job is to shoot magic from afar, intelligent and gentle. I like my job." Reyna leans closer, eyes glinting under her ponytail. "Around here," she murmurs, pointing at the place she wants to hit. A spear point glints on a snow-frosted tent in the morning light. Above it, the corner of a white banner whispers. Jupiter and Reyna face each other in the snowfield. Two captains in black coats, identical medals, identical reputations. A runner sprints between rows of red flags. Yeah, I hear you," Jupiter calls back. "What is it this time?" The mountains stretch white and endless. They say command has discovered something out there that seems to be an enemy military base. A war map covered in red triangles, the Magic Corps banner pinned at its heart. The war is in final stages. An officer reports while Jupiter stands silhouetted in the red flag tent doorway, listening with a half smile. Jupiter and Reyna walk shoulder to shoulder past empty white tents. The Corps moves like clockwork around them. Jupiter tilts a gloved finger at Reyna, grinning. "You never know," she purrs. "We might catch some young and hot men." Your thoughts keep becoming pessimistic, the flag overhead seems to whisper, snapping in the wind above the snowy ridge. Jupiter smiles with her eyes closed, ponytail dangling, the smile of someone who has never once doubted what her job is. Two cloaked figures walk between rows of snow-covered tents. "Let's go south at least once," Reyna murmurs, "before we die." The next day, 4:30 in the morning. The Magic Corps camp huddles in the dark valley, every tent dusted with frost. Snowy peaks stand up like teeth around the marching column. "Hey," Reyna says, "are you sure that's a military base out there?" Jupiter closes her eyes under the dark peak of her cap. The cold does not touch her, neither does doubt. "Confirm if it's actually a military base," Jupiter tells the officer. He nods quickly. "Yes, Captain. Yes, confirmed." The Magic Corps banners flutter above the column, gold sun blazing on purple cloth. The chain of command has signed off. "And they often disguise themselves as civilians," the officer adds flatly. Jupiter's face doesn't move. She has heard that line before. The war map glows under a cluster of red triangles. The Magic Corps banner sits in the middle like a brand. Green spectral shapes spool through dark trees, the same color as Jupiter's spellwork. Foresight, maybe. Or the future arriving early. Jupiter smiles in falling snow. The command unit's judgment was always accurate. That had been true her whole career. A gloved hand grips a brass stopwatch. Beginning countdown before the mission starts, a voice calls. The hand does not tremble. 10, 9, 8, 7. Lightning crackles between gloved fingers, and this is what she has been doing her whole life. "Thank you both for your hard work," the officer says against a row of black crosses. Jupiter is already looking past him. Jupiter in profile, ponytail along her shoulder, smiling small. Nothing in that smile suspects anything yet. A gloved hand wraps around a sword hilt. Just a grip, just a habit. The metal answers without any question. Jupiter from behind, dark ponytail trailing down her coat as she faces the open mountains. "You both may return to base." Two pairs of boots on a high stone bridge above the mist. "Hey Jupiter," Reyna calls out. Hey, grab her." Jupiter spins around with that grin still alive. "We're strictly specialized in long-distance artillery warfare," she calls back. The village is already burning. Pillars of fire rise between collapsed walls, smoke rolling skyward like a black tongue lapping the clouds. A single dark boot lifts off the ground and slams back down in the scorched dirt. The strike rings across the ridge. Reyna stares down at the burning settlement with her hood thrown back, brown ponytail dragging across her face in the wind. Jupiter watches from the side with that quiet, satisfied profile smile. Ash drifts past her face like the first thin snow. A man's face fills the wreckage, bloodied, gold headbanded, screaming with every muscle of his jaw. Not a soldier, no uniform anywhere. Two red-helmed soldiers stand over a body in the wreckage. "We found the 2nd Division captain," one shouts. "Captain Jupiter." Reyna kneels in the blood pooling under the body. "Jupiter," she breathes. Just the name. Her ribs already feel hollow. "I don't have time to sort through them one by one," Jupiter says casually, sleeves smeared with soot. "What?" Reyna answers. Reyna staggers up, holding a grenade in her bare palm. "So why," she screams, "are you pulling this shit now, damn it?" "It'll be winter soon," Jupiter says, gesturing at the white peaks. "Maintaining the front line strains the command unit." "Efficient," Reyna repeats. Her voice fractures in half. Two helmeted shapes in the smoke seem to lean in to listen. "In terms of massacring civilians," Jupiter calls back brightly, "it's extremely efficient." Reyna exhales. "Ha. Jupiter. Just that." The magic core crest glows above pale stone hands. "While we served here," Reyna asks, "how many civilians did we kill?" A red moon hangs over Jupiter's silhouette, her uniform soaked the color of arterial blood. Jupiter had finally realized. Reyna's face contorts, smoke peeling around her. "So why," she yells again, "are you pulling this shit on me, damn it?" Strips of memory flicker past. Lightning, ruins, a soldier's silhouette in red. "It was bullshit," somebody says inside her head. Jupiter's face under the peaked cap is older, sharper, every confidence drained. Her mouth is open and no joke is coming out. A brown-haired soldier in a helmet ducks low through the smoke. Reyna, half hidden by her armor, 3 dots trailing behind. A bloodied face stares up at the sky with one open eye. "A survivor," a voice gasps. The word lands hard. A single dark boot comes down hard on the scorched stones. The sound cracks across the burning ridge and nobody speaks again. A silhouette stands in the smoke of a burning village, sparks raining like a punishment she ordered. Young Dame Jupiter freezes, mouth open, the fire reflected in eyes that already know what she did. Beams crack and collapse, the roof she condemned giving up its last breath beneath her gaze. The rubble settles, then a small voice rises from the ash, broken and apologizing for a crime never theirs. A kneeling figure begs forgiveness in the wreckage while Jupiter watches, suddenly the executioner instead of the soldier. She steps closer, and the smoke parts for her boots like even the fire is afraid. A village priest emerges from the broken doorway, children clutching the back of his robes like the last thread. He waves Jupiter back, shouting for the kids to hide, the only adult left in a place she erased. The scout finally spots them, gasps echoing, surprised that anything still breathes inside the kill zone. Jupiter's officer looms over the priest, cap shadowing eyes that already decided which orders matter tonight. Her lips part with a strange calm, asking if the survivors crawling out were lucky or simply cursed. The priest answers with silence, the answer Jupiter expected and dreaded in the same heartbeat. Children kneel in the dirt behind the priest, robes burned at the hem, eyes hollowed out by smoke. Their breath catches as the soldier in gold and black stares down without blinking. Judgment on 2 legs. The priest lifts his hands, voice cracking, pleading for kids who never carried a banner or signed a treaty. Tears cut clean lines through the soot on his face while ash drifts past him like slow gray snow. He keeps explaining anyway, building a confession for sins that were never his to carry. Behind him, a banner of the Empire smolders on a stake, the symbol that called this fire down. Jupiter's hand drifts toward the saber at her hip and stops, the muscle remembering what the heart refuses. A banner marks the ground. Everblack and Camilla, Two enemies whose war put these kids in her sights. Then lightning leaps from her palm in a wild blue arc, and the air itself flinches around her. The bolt rips past the priest, past the children, slamming into something only she can see beyond the smoke. Sparks scatter across her boots while the screaming starts somewhere behind the rubble, soldiers reacting too late. A familiar voice cuts through, begging Reyna, the name no one used unless she was crossing a line. Reyna lowers her head, hair falling around the cap, the weight of two armies pressing on one decision. Her eyes close. A soldier who already chose, a commander who already disobeyed in silence. She turns to the priest, voice level, ordering him somewhere the Empire's maps cannot reach. The priest blinks, terrified that mercy from her mouth is the cruelest trap of all. A blonde child clutches the priest's robe, looking up at the woman who was supposed to kill them. Reyna's officer asks what she just did, the words slipping out before he can swallow it back. She doesn't answer, only watches the children scatter toward the tree line, the only thing she can give them. Her profile cuts sharp against the sunset, the war hero shrinking under the weight of one soft order. A flashback inside the flashback, a colder superior asking what she could possibly be thinking tonight. The words drop like lead, save the children of an enemy country you were ordered to burn. Then the worst line lands, do whatever you like, the permission that doubles as a quiet sentence. Reyna holds it, knowing exactly what the Empire promises a soldier who chooses people over orders. Time skips forward, blood already drying on her cheekbone, a thin red trail crawling from under her right eye. The wound that becomes the eye patch, the cost printed on her face for every battle after. She holds the small blonde child against her uniform, the child she chose, the child she will carry forward. Smoke fills the horizon behind her, the next campaign already starting before she has finished bleeding. Years compress into a single sentence, more campaigns, more flames, Camilla guerrillas hunted across the kingdom. The story says it took years, and her silence says it cost more than years. The flashback resolves to a quiet dock, mist hanging low, Jupiter's new location written like an epitaph. A gloved hand removes the medals from her chest, 4 ribbons and crosses laid out like quiet receipts. The line admits what everyone knew. It was a clear demotion, the Empire's polite way of erasing her. She stands at Crossroad's coastline, the famous lightning sorceress reduced to a name nobody salutes. Then the present cracks open. Silver hair tied back, eye patch settled, the same woman 30 winters older. Call me Grandma from now on, she tells Ash, the joke hiding how much she has stopped pretending. Ash listens without moving, the prince who came for a sword finding a confession instead. Jupiter's face goes quiet, decades of war collapsing into the shape of one ordinary tired woman. She admits her body has grown weak, her magic core, the heart of every spell, no longer the storm. A blue light pulses faintly inside her ribs in the memory, a candle where there used to be a furnace. She talks about the child she saved, now grown, a witch under a wide black hat with golden eyes. Every time I look into that child's eyes, she says, I get so scared, the line never spoken aloud. Ash absorbs it, the player realizing one of his support units carries a real war inside her ribs. She has spent 30 years not running from the burning village, just walking slower around its ashes. The conversation slides into low candlelight, a glass between them, the dinner where soldiers speak in lowercase. Jupiter says she was foolish for letting the military write her name, the hate older than any rank. Don't be consumed by your role, she warns, the only advice a demoted hero is qualified to give. Ash watches her speak, a future tyrant being measured by a woman who already wore that costume. To someone who is still young like you, she says, the line landing on a prince wearing borrowed skin. Inside his head the question surfaces. Third prince, commander, lord, Ash, or player Retrotaku, which one? Jupiter only smiles in the dark, eye patch tilted, voice barely more than a whisper. I want to believe that. Ash turns toward the window, a smirk climbing one side of his mouth, a player already plotting his next move.